All right, the Audible's on the air Wednesday afternoon. Kim Bokamper, the great Sam Madison, number 29 in your program. Some guys like Patrick. One or two in your heart, depending on whether it's Patrick or Sam. One or two. You guys are rivals again. But look at me. I just came from working out because that's what I do every day. I work out.
You look like it.
Just in case you guys didn't know, that's what I'm doing. Meanwhile, my man Sam Madison, signing day at St. Thomas Aquinas High School. One of the great football programs, high school football programs in the country, no doubt about it. And you guys had a bunch of guys sign in the early signing, but you had a bunch more signed today.
Yeah.
And Sam, it's signing day. You know, this is a traditional signing day all around the country. Huge day for high schools.
Correct.
Huge day for colleges as they get their new recruits coming in and everything. Sam, you remember back to your day when it was time for you to decide where you were going to go to college and making that decision and going through that whole process?
Yeah, absolutely. I only had one offer, Bo, so it was easy for me.
Well, you know what? You had one more than I did.
That's all I really needed, and that's what I tell these kids today. I was like, you only really need one.
Yep.
And they just, a lot of them are like, I don't have enough offers. What I have to do to this? You only need one.
Yeah, that's all.
I mean, but the best part about it, it gives these kids the opportunity to continue their education at whatever school that they pick and choose. And you look at the way that the landscape of the college football is today, you know, it's wide open. So just to be able to see South Florida always in the mix and having the number of kids going across the country and helping those programs develop in their football. But, you know, just like you said, St. Thomas, we have probably about 20-plus kids that's going to sign.
Not to mention that on Sunday you had you had two kids playing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
On Sunday you had Dorsett, Anthony Dorsett, and the running back.
Yep. Absolutely.
Right.
So to be able to continue to see the growth in the kids around South Florida is really good. And, you know, I don't know if he's number one or number two in some of our hearts, you know, but Pat Surtain over at American Heritage went undefeated in the last two seasons, and then his son signs with Alabama today.
Ooh, that was a last-minute curveball right there.
It was a last-minute curveball.
You know, you look at Pat. Pat's a New Orleans guy.
Absolutely.
And so you figured, and everyone was talking about it was Pat Jr., right?
LSU.
Going to LSU, kind of going back home there, and he threw that last-minute curveball. Nick must have got into his ear there. Nick, you know, persistent Nick.
Absolutely.
Nick was probably talking to him about 30 seconds before he signed that paper, or something, or had something in his ear. Now, come on, Crimson Tide.
And the other part with Pat and his group of kids, because over the last couple of years, this is my first year coaching high school football. You start roughly in the next couple of weeks, and then you go all the way through almost to December. That group of kids, they really took their time. They waited later into the season to take their visits. Because of the number of games they were playing and the running around that they were doing, they wanted to make sure that they had all their options in place before they made those decisions and not jump to any conclusions. So, you know, just like you said, you know, Coach Saban probably was talking to him. But, you know, when you look at Alabama, LSU, Georgia, Tennessee, all of these different schools, it doesn't really matter.
You're not going wrong. You're not going wrong there.
You're not going wrong,
But look, at this day and age, you know, it may have been back in – in my day, back before my day, where, you know, kids would get lost. You know, you go to a small school, you go somewhere, no one notices you, and you may have had the talent to get the NFL, but no one knows. Now, I don't care. Look, if you can play, I don't care what level you play at. I don't care if it's Division III. I don't care if it's Division II. If you're in the SEC or Big Ten, doesn't matter where you're playing. They're going to find you if you can play. And I always try to tell kids. Tell parents of kids when they ask me, well, my kid, you know, he's got a chance to go. I said, look, all I can give you, best advice I can give you, if your son wants to play football, and whether he has any glimmer of hope of playing the NFL or not, if he wants to play football, my best advice to you, get him somewhere where he's going to play.
Absolutely.
Get him somewhere where he's going to be on the field playing. And I had a good friend of mine that, you know, I watched her kid grow up. I watched her son grow up from – he went to school with my daughters. I watched him play, you know, from dodgeball to volleyball to basketball from 5th grade on. I've known this kid, and she says, well, and he went to St. Thomas, and I told him he should play guard. She wanted to play linebacker. Never played. Played his senior year a little bit when they moved him to guard. I'm just saying.
You should have said.
Just saying.
Just saying.
You know, I've watched his footwork for 10, 12 years. I knew what the kid was about.
Correct.
So then it's time to go to college, and she said, well, where do you think? You know, he wants to go to Notre Dame. I said, well, Notre Dame's a great school. does he want to play football? She said, yeah, he'd like to play football. I said, well, you know, he can walk on at Notre Dame, or he can find somewhere where there's Division III, NIAI. I guarantee you there's somewhere he can go and play for 4 years.
Correct.
And be on the field and this and that. And she said, well, you know, so he went to Notre Dame. So he got a Notre Dame education, never played, but, you know, was a walk-on and, you know, was kind of a practice guy. But, you know, that's just not for me. You know, my advice is go play where you can play. They'll find you. Obviously, if you're anywhere in the SEC, you're going to get noticed and everything. But the other thing, Sam, you brought up, and I think we've all kind of gotten, and I listen to radio talk shows and I read different things. Everyone's gotten so enamored with kids going from high school to college to get to the NFL.
Yeah.
You know, when everyone talks about, this kid, he goes there, he can get to the NFL. Well, you know what? The chance of him getting to the NFL or slim. Slim. I mean, slimmer than going to college.
Correct.
You know, there's more kids coming out of high school going to college than there are kids coming out of college going to the pros. So your chance of, but all the talk shows, about guy going to the NFL, guy's going there, he's going to go to the NFL, and I always sit there and go, well, you know what? Really, on average, if you take every college in the country, it doesn't even average one kid per college going to the NFL, right? On a given year. I think we should spend more time giving recognition to those kids that go there, play 4 years of football, get a great education, and go on and make society better with the jobs that they get after the education that they got in high school. I think that gets overlooked in this whole thing because everyone's so much about, hey, you're going to go to Notre Dame, you're going to go to LSU, you're going to go to Alabama, you're going to go to Southern Cal, you're going to go to one of those places, then you're going to go play in the NFL. What about the guy that goes through 4 years, 5 years of college and turns out being an engineer, turns out being a doctor, turns out being a dentist, turns out to be a teacher? Things, the things that make our society work on a daily basis. I just don't think we herald those guys enough.
And, Bo, this is one of the things that I was thinking about today, and you played with a few of them. I played with a few. A lot of these kids, this is the first generation of these kids going to college, period.
Yeah, no doubt.
So you're breaking a cycle there.
Yep.
You know, so to have a kid, yes, that is in our mindset. But for me, I never really paid attention and watched professional football. When I was growing up as a kid, I played baseball all the way until 9th grade, and then I transitioned over into football. So for me, I didn't know exactly what I was going to do.
Right.
And then to get that scholarship, okay, cool. I'm going to get a free education. That was good for me. But for a lot of these kids, coming from the demographics that they're raised up in and the things that they had to overcome at their time while they're in high school, you know, it should be in itself, you know, tenfold because, you know, a lot of these kids, they beat the odds. So to just have that opportunity to get a scholarship and have an opportunity to continue to educate yourself, because just like you said, the day-to-day grind to keep this country rolling and working and moving, you need those doctors, lawyers, steel workers, no matter what the case may be. So these coaches that's coming from these top-tier schools across the country, coming into these communities, going into these kids' house, talking to the parents, understanding and seeing exactly where they are, you know, you have to take your hat off to them for really having those eyes. But, you know, just like at Florida, there's a kid that's going to go to Florida, University of Florida. He's not going to play college football, period, point blank, because he has a heart problem. But guess what? The University of Florida,
they're standing behind the scholarship.
Scholarship, and guess what? That helps that family 100 times over because he's going to be able to get an education, hopefully get a job, and continue to be able to do something positive in society. So it's amazing.
I did for the TV station, the CBS station down here. I probably did 10 signing days. You know, to different schools. I've been to Northwestern, Booker T, Miramar, Carroll City, you name it. I've been to all these schools, St. Thomas. I've been to South Plantation. Been to all the schools around here on signing day. And the one thing that I always walked away feeling good, and what I always walked away feeling good about were those parents that were sitting there. And the parents, and look, you know, there'd be a guy there that maybe the dad was a bus driver. Maybe the dad was a city worker. Maybe it was, and really couldn't afford to send his kid to a good school. And the joy in their faces and the joy in their conversation about, this is the first. He's going to be he or she's going to be the first, child from our family that's going to get to go to college and wouldn't get to go there had he or she not been an athlete and been offered a scholarship. And to be around the parents like that and see what it means to them and their family, and not only at that point, but also it sends a message to the other kids in that family that are younger that, hey, if he can go or she can go, there's no reason I can't go too. And so it sets a trend in the family. And I think that all these things are the things that are kind of overlooked when you go, oh, that guy's going to go play for LSU. LSU's going to be better, and this and that. But it's the underlying stories to me that have always made National Signing Day special.
The mentors, the moms, the dads, the big brothers, the uncles, have an opportunity to continue to help these kids along and lead them and guide them in the right direction. Then you'll be able to see the fruits of their labor. You'll understand why he got up at those 6 o'clock in the morning and trekked 40, 50 miles to take that kid to a specific school, or going out and doing those extra workouts and making sure that he had the necessary equipment to be able to go out and be successful. There's a lot of success stories all across this country, but you're right. To be able to see those parents and understand how they feel deep down in their heart, like you said, Bo. You had to go junior college first, and then move on to the next. And for me, only having one scholarship offer, it only takes one. And look, man, we played at national football level at a high level and played on some really good teams.
I still pinch myself. I'm thinking, how the hell did I get there, man?
And people sit here, and I go in places today, and it's like, oh, I recognize that name. Like, man, I can play in the NFL. If you can play in the NFL, absolutely correct. I mean, for 5'11", 175, 80 pounds, that's all you're going to get. But, it's one of those situations to where you got to utilize and take advantage at the opportunities that you have. And a lot of these kids in South Florida, they definitely do. And they have an opportunity to be outside, running track, playing softball, lacrosse, or no matter all the different sports. It helps and it piggybacks off of, the things that those mentors and everybody else did, along with the hard work and dedication that you put into it.
Last thing on the recruiting, nice to see. Congratulations to Pat Surtain and his kid choosing to go to Alabama and last minute, a little bit of a surprise there. And congratulations to all the kids that are getting the opportunity. Whatever sport you're in, guys, girls, and wherever you're going, good for you and good for your family. Let's get a little Dolphin stuff here, Sam. How about that?
I'm good.
Duke Dennis comes in all the time on Periscope. Hey, Bo, starting to be a trend that the teams we have joint practices with and end up doing well. You know what? That's 2 years. The last two joint practices the Dolphins have had: Carolina, Super Bowl; Philadelphia, Super Bowl. Philadelphia wins, Carolina doesn't win. So you're one-on-one with teams that maybe we should have someone come here and joint practice with us. Let us be the team that goes to the
it's
Super
been
Bowl.
A very long time since we had a joint practice here, and it may have been Tampa.
Tampa a while back. We used to go when I first got in the league. We used to go every year. We would go the week before our first preseason game. We would go up to Vero Beach. New Orleans Saints were always up at Vero Beach. We'd go up on a Saturday morning, scrimmage them. They'd do a barbecue afterwards for both teams, and then head back, have Sunday off, and get back on Monday. So that was always but it was just a one deal. Sam, the thing with these joint practices, I think they're very good for the teams, because you get 2 or 3 days of –
and you break it up.
You get 2 or 3 days of good hard work there, and you get to put players and your schemes into situations to see how they work against another team. And I tend to believe that the future of the NFL may get to that 2 preseason games, but joint practices with those 2 teams. Well, I would prefer. I think there's more value to me out of playing 2 preseason games, joint practices with those teams, and then get to the season, then 4 preseason games. Well, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it sounds good, right?
Yeah.
But I had opportunity to practice against a couple of teams. Tampa Bay. We went to Tennessee Titans.
A couple times Tennessee,
San
Diego, I believe.
So having that opportunity to break it up, you get to see other players, understand their strength, their weaknesses, and yet and still stop beating up on your guys. And some of those practices are a little controlled, and some of them get a little out of control.
Intensity gets up there a little bit. I mean, there's no doubt. it may not come to fights, may not come to but the intensity definitely ratchets up when you step on someone else's practice field.
It definitely does, and everybody wants to signify and make sure that they know exactly where they're standing going into the season.
Yep.
And that's really what those guys are really trying to get from that. Where are we right now?
Yep.
And I think that we can go left or we can go right to ultimately get to that first game, and that's what guys are really trying to get to. Where are we?
Yep.
But for as a player standpoint, just not beating up on your guys, tempering back, but going against somebody else, and especially when you have a team like the New England Patriots, and you have opportunity to practice this against those guys, and whoever's going to practice against Philly this year, that was the world champion.
Yeah, that's right.
Where we stand, where do we stand against that football team? Okay, we'll come to you.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of coaches see it, and a lot of the players see the same exact thing, but once again, majority of the players, when you go, it's still early on in the season, so you want to go out there and give your 100 because you never know who's watching. They may be able to scoop you up and have you on their roster as well.
No doubt. Jason Stavros from Facebook. Should the Finns draft a guard in the first round? I don't know who it was, Todd McShay or one of the guys that threw their mock draft out, had the Dolphins at 11 picking up Quentin Nelson, the offensive guard from Notre Dame. If you're asking me, I'm good with that.
I'm fine.
I'm good as gold with that because, look, we've been digging around trying to find a guard for years, and then there's always the argument, oh, you can always get a guard in later rounds. We've tried to get guards in later rounds.
We tried
it ain't happened for a decade. I think the last time we did well in that was probably Keith Sims.
Yep.
Right. And so look, if you want a good guard and you want to guarantee yourself a good guard. And you're going to take this guy in the first round. This guy's a can't miss kind of a guy. At least that's what they're saying. And there's never a can't miss guy. But I think this guy gives you a guy you plug in there from day one. He's going to be there for 10 years.
And then with the things that you saw from Kenyon Drake, and if you give him a little bit of crease, he's going to. By the time anybody touches it, he's going to be 12 yards down the field, and then anything can happen from that. So, plugging a guard into the fold, now that's going to give the quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, a little extra time to be able to look downfield.
Doesn't create a lot of jumping up and down time on the draft party when you draft a guard.
Absolutely.
But that's the way it goes. I got no problem with it. Hey, Sam, Facebook question. Hey, Sam. Don't you think Talib and Howard would be a good cornerback pair? Aqib Talib is out there. I guess he's a free agent. I don't know what he's been around for a dozen years, right?
He's been around for a while.
Yeah, that's I've gotten to the point, Sam. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just jaded, but I've gotten to the point where I don't want a guy with 2 more years. I don't want a guy with 1 more year. We've tried it. We've tried it with tight ends. We've tried it with defensive ends. We've tried it with linebackers. We've tried it with all positions. And you get a guy that's kind of, their mind is into it. Their body ain't quite what it was before. Give me young guys. Give me young guys and develop them.
Scrappy guy. When you look at
if you go out and get Aqib Talib, you're taking snaps away from Tank.
Right?
Yeah. Would you rather take a year's worth of snaps away from Tank
Absolutely
or give Tank those snaps?
Let's go back to last year when we went and got Xavier Howard.
Yeah.
When I looked at Xavier Howard, I looked at the footwork, I looked at the way that he came up and he was physical in the run game, and then come fast forward to this season, light years.
Yep.
And what happened was he was able to get some reps up under him. But Tank was able to get in there early and grab a lot of reps.
Yep.
Even last year with Xavier being a rookie, he had some up and down plays.
Yep.
Made some plays, gave up a few plays. But look at what happened to this year.
Yep.
He stepped up huge. Yep. And now we still have Tony Lippett, who will be coming back from injury. We have a very good wealth of young talent.
Look at Bobby McCain and how Bobby lifted his game this year.
Unbelievable. I like our secondary right now. And if Tony Lippett can come back and be healthy, he has a lot of games up under his belt. But I only see Tankersley getting better, and Xavier Howard will be a number 1 corner. And now when you have a number 1 corner already on your roster, you just need to be able to fill in from there. If Talib comes in here, he's going to warrant to be the number 1. But right now,
you're not coming in here back up.
Yeah, Xavier Howard is our number 1 corner.
It's got to be, hey, we bring this guy in. he may be able to help us a little bit, but he retards the growth of Tank. I think Tank played. I think when Tank got the chance to play, and the more he played, I think he played better than the coaches thought he was going to play. I think they were a little concerned because you remember early in the season he wasn't even active early in the season, and then all of a sudden they make the move with Byron Nelson or Byron Maxwell, and here he comes in, and I thought he, like you said, I thought he handled himself well out there, but more importantly, I think the value of the snaps that he got this year in game time situations are going to make him a better player next year.
That's the biggest part, man. Yeah. Being able to get these guys to come in and get some reps up under their belts to understand. We talk about it all the time. Okay, when you're in training camp or you're in the preseason with your own team, yes, it's fast, but you have opportunity to adapt to it. Then you get into the preseason, it's a little bit faster, but it's still nothing like the first week. And then once you get to the middle of the season, it's a couple of different phases as the league goes on and it moves of how things get faster and quicker. And he was able to make that adjustment, but to be able to get in-game actions in crucial times of a game, in crucial times of the season is really big because it gets your mindset ready to go. They're coming at you. And then you know that they're coming at you, and it's going to be their number one wide receiver. It's going to be the number one quarterback. It's not going to be the third quarterback that you're going through like in the preseason. So to get those valuable reps, I think it was really good for Tankersley, and hopefully he'll do the same thing that happened that Xavier Howard did.
No doubt.
He will be able to make that big jump, and now you have two solidified corners that you can rely on week in and week out.
Look, to me, going into the draft and free agency, the secondary is very low on my priority list back there with where you're sitting right now.
And let's go with Rashard as well as TJ. Last year, Rashard was trying to get back and come back healthy. He just really needed to know exactly where he was. And you look at TJ McDonald.
You missed him for 8 games.
He was really just trying to get back and make sure that he was in shape 100% when he came back. So the little small details that he'll have to work on, I'm pretty sure those guys will sure that up as well. And this secondary, like you said, won't be a concern for me.
I don't think it is. Jake Clape 12 from Periscope. Should we draft a quarterback right now or fix our O-line and draft one in the year? Look, I think they've got to draft a quarterback.
Yeah, they have to.
They've got to get some because, look, I think from the way it looks right now, David Fales may be back, but I don't expect Matt's not going to be back. I don't expect Cutler certainly is not going to be back. Dowdy, they
put him for another year.
So Dowdy's going to come back and compete. Fales is going to come back and compete. But I wouldn't be surprised, Sam, if we don't see Tannehill is a starter and 2 other guys in that quarterback room this year.
I'm with you, Bo. Let's go.
And I think one of them should be a draft pick, no doubt.
Definitely. Let's go out and get one of those quarterbacks, just to have on this roster in case something does happen to Ryan. But you're able to put him in the game, and we don't miss a beat.
It's got to be a guy too, Sam. I think you got to find a guy in that top 3 or 4 rounds that's a legitimate guy coming in that also makes Ryan say, hey, look, I got to work. I got to work.
Absolutely.
Because this guy's going to push me. And this guy wants my job right now. And you know how it is when there's 5 guys standing behind you, Sam, on those training camp rosters, and you look back and you go, those guys are pretty hungry back there. I better get my JOB right now.
I don't think that we'll go in the first round and get a quarterback, but yet and still, like you said, second, third round, you get one of those quarterbacks. You know that he's going to be on this roster for a very long time. And then yet and still, you give him an opportunity to grow in the National Football League. And when these quarterbacks have an opportunity to sit for a year, 2 years, they come out and they be very productive in the National Football League. So, like you saying, Bo, to be able to, in the second, third round, get one of these quarterbacks that's a legitimate player. Not wait till the 7th round or pick up somebody in free agency. Get somebody in here to be able to compete. And we've heard Coach Gates talk about it all the time. Competition, breeds success on any football team. You look at the number of defensive backs that we have, guys that's going to be stepping up. You look at the wide receiver position. Now I think it's time for us to get that depth and that competition at quarterback as well.
Falling back, going down here to one of the other questions from George Varath. If Mayfield's there at 11, do you take him? And then that does create a dilemma. If there's a first round guy, a guy that that he's got, look, his height is, if there's a knock on him, it's his height. The guy wins football games. The guy can run. He can do all the different things. And I think you really do have a decision there. Look, if Mayfield's there, if the guard's there, if there's a tight end there, I think you've got a decision. And if you have those 3 positions there, Well, let me put this. Let me throw out there the 4 positions I think that are very priority for Dolphins: quarterback, guard, tight end, linebacker. If you got those 4 positions available at the 11th pick when your time rolls around, then you got a tough decision to make. And I think either one of those picks would be a viable pick for this football team from a position standpoint.
I'm with you, man. Those are situations that can put this team in positions to win right now. And you know, you look at those 4 positions, even at the linebacker. You know, we don't really know what's going to happen. McMillan when he comes back, you know, from that injury, but that's just like another draft pick that we're going to have next season as well to be able to put into the mix. But if Mayfield is there, and when you look at the Dolphins and you know what Chris Greer is going to be looking at, is he the best player?
Yeah.
Is that the best player in our book right now? And they make that pick, I have no problem with that, because now, you know, like you said, we could talk about his height. Everybody talked about Drew Brees' height. Everybody talked about Russell Wilson's height. And look, those guys have been playing at very high level for the last few years. So now for me, height with quarterbacks, I'm throwing it out of the window. Before I wanted the 6'4", 6'5" guy to look over the offensive line and deliver the ball. Man, just give me a guy that can win some football games.
Win some games. The other thing is, Sam, you watch that game on Sunday. You watch the Super Bowl. And to me, that game – among any other game, beyond any other game, showed you the value of what tight ends mean in this league anymore. Because that game was won by tight ends. That game was won and almost won by two tight ends. Played as big a role in that game. You can look at that game and say there were four guys in that game that played huge roles in that game. The 2 quarterbacks and the 2 tight ends.
I've been talking about this for the last 3 or 4 years, and, you know, I thought going out and getting Julius Thomas and bringing him in and having a big guy in the middle.
But therein goes back to
there we go.
Therein goes back to the Talib question.
Correct.
You want a guy that's running on a quarter of a tank left in the in the fuel box
and
there.
Cameron Jordan.
Yep. Let's go to Mario Williams last year.
Absolutely.
You know? I mean,
let's go out and just get some guys and let's develop our own guys. Give me a young player that's hungry.
Give me young and hungry, not old and fat.
Yeah, and now when you have a guy in the middle of the football field that's standing 6'6", 6'5", and then even if you have a shorter quarterback, the putting the ball up, he's going to go up and make a play for you. But having somebody in the middle of the football field, I love Jarvis Landry in the middle of the football field, but I love him as the second option, not the first option, because he'll be going against the third wide receiver. But now when you have a guy that's big, a big target, great hands, when guys going to be bouncing off of it, even in the AFC Championship game, Tom Brady sat there and targeted Gronkowski before he got knocked out 6 plays in a row. And
he did the same thing in the second half of this one.
Absolutely.
Came out in the second half.
Came out like, I'm targeting you.
Game.
Yeah, I mean, because it's a mismatch. And that is one of those mismatches that I would like for the Dolphins to have versus other teams. And now you will really see the explosive plays on the outside and the running game open up.
Quick one here. Henry Wells, Malcolm Butler, Xavier Howard, and Bobby McCain. Thoughts? Well, the thoughts are like I like Xavier and love Bobby McCain, what he's done. Malcolm Butler is a guy that looks like he's going to be out there and available. Younger guy, still got some game in him, but I think you look at him and you make your decision based on that.
And he's going to want big money too, bro.
He is.
Yeah, he's going to want big money. He's played in some really big games over the course of his career over the last 3 or 4 years, and he's going to want it, and people are going to give it to him. Somebody's going to give it to him.
Got El Chapo Jr., who we all know is an escape artist. So Chapo asked this question: "Hey guys, what do you think about the whole Josh McDaniels? Josh McDaniels, who just escaped Indianapolis and went back to. So he and El Chapo are along the same lines. That's a weird deal right there.
Yeah, it's weird, but
that was Belichick. That's what Belichick did with the Jets. Signed with the Jets a day later, said I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out.
And now he's got Josh McDaniel, which reading some of the stuff today, there's the underlying question is, hey, is Belichick coming back, or is Belichick thinking, maybe I've had enough's enough.
Smooth transition.
And maybe Josh McDaniels gets the word from Kraft, hey, you know what, Bill may only be here for another year, and if he goes, you're the man. There's got to be something more to it than
it definitely has.
Than meets the eye, right?
I had an opportunity to coach with Josh when
Yeah.
he was at St. Louis. I went up and did my internship. I mean, a very, very smart guy.
Yeah.
He's very detailed. He gets those guys prepared, to win the football game, and he's going to work with what he has.
Yeah.
And, for that to happen and him to go back to Indy, it's something probably ringing to say,
Yeah.
hey, you're going to be the successor of Bill Belichick,
Yeah.
and we want you to stay around here. The way that Mr. Kraft structured that deal, came out of his own pocket is like, hey, just stay in place for a little bit longer. I understand, and I know that you want to be a head coach again, like he was in Denver, which wasn't very successful. And then he went back to New England. It seems like that is where Mr. Kraft won him because they understand one another. But to lead the Indianapolis Colts on, and the Colts probably was looking at it as well, like, okay,
well, that team needs
let me
some
have
help.
this one, but let me keep my other options open. And now a lot of teams around the NFL will be paying attention to what just happened, and they will sit here and say, I'm going to have a 1. But I'm going to have a strong
number 2 sitting
1A.
We're going to wrap this up. The news out that Dan Campbell and Frank Reich both are set to interview with the Colts. Both young guys.
Yep.
Look, we saw Dan Campbell here on an interim basis.
Energy.
Well, I tell you what, Dan Campbell.
Some energy.
I don't know if Dan Campbell is there yet.
Yep.
And I think that was the thing when Dan was here. He really showed you a lot of signs of the ability to be what I think is going to be a very good head coach. It's just a matter of where he's built up to. I just saw him when we were in London because he was with the Saints this year, talking a little bit, and he's certainly jacked up about it. But certainly would be a good, and I think both those guys are going to be very good. At some point, both those guys are going to be very good head coaches in this year.
Either or, and when you look at it, it's all about what you put around them. And when you look at Coach Campbell, even when we hired him as an interim coach, he was like, listen, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. That's why I have all these other guys around me to be able to help me make those decisions. And the same thing with a lot of other teams around the league.
You know what I like about he was his own man.
He was on,
I'm gonna do it my way.
Absolutely.
Look, it may not be the right way, but it's
and the
my
players
way,
bought into it. That is what you really want. Who can I hire to bring in here and the players buy into his system and his way of doing things?
All right, Sam. John Gardner, looking dapper, Sam. What's up?
Thank you, man. Hey, man, it's National Signing Day. I'm getting ready to head over to St. Thomas.
St. Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah, absolutely. It's blue and gold.
All the time, all the thing.
This is my first one.
Well, I'm going to let you get out there, Sam. It's a big day. Thanks
Thank
for coming in. Sam Madison, Kim Bokamper. That's going to do it for the Audible today. We'll be back on Friday. Just a heads up, after our Friday show, we're going to take a month-long hiatus, kind of tweak things a little bit, but we'll be back in March, right about a month, maybe 3 weeks a month. So we're going to take a little bit of a hiatus after the Friday night
but
the
you
Friday
always
show.
Gonna be working. You ain't going to take no time.
I'm going to work.
Absolutely.
I'm going to try working on my golf game.
All you got to do is walk out
I'll
the
be
back
so
door.
pissed off by the time I get back. I may be in a week calling, hey, let's get that show back on the air. I need to get my ass off this golf course because I suck out here. But anyway. All right, that's going to do it. So we'll be back on Friday, and then a little break after that. Have a good couple days. We'll see you then. Sam.